going on, Blazing Knights? It's me, Blazeix, and welcome back to Blazeix Reacts. Today, we're going to be reacting to Giving All Alien Force Aliens Ultimate Forms. Now, for those who aren't aware, I love Ben 10, and one of my favorite seasons in the franchise is Ultimate Alien, because I love the gimmick of the Ultimate feature. Giving the aliens we know Ultimate Forms, and seeing how powerful they would be in this sort of scenario like simulation. And it just kind of makes me happy to see some of these aliens get more powerful than they already were. Because a lot of them were pretty busted. Seriously, Echo is basically just Ditto but with sound-based abilities. And you just made him even more epic with Ultimate Echo. My only gripe with Ultimate Alien is that they should have done more with the Ultimate feature. While it was nice that we still got new aliens and that certain aliens got Ultimate forms, why did we need Ultimate Wild Mutt? Who sat there in the studio and said, yeah, let's give Wild Mutt an Ultimate form and just have him talk? Yeah, because that really helps. Because I think everybody hated Ultimate Wild Mutt because who asked for this? I seriously could go over an entire rant about how Ultimate Wild Mutt was the least popular Ultimate form, but we'd be here all day. So I'm not even going to get into it. I'm going to get into it. But anyways, I want to see what the Ink Tank came up with the other aliens. So without further ado, let's get into the reaction. Want to go check out the Ink Tank channel? The link will be down below. Want to go check out the original video stuff above? I could go check it out. Let's jump right in. Without further ado, Blazeix Reacts. Let's blaze in action.
Good evening, Internet World and Universe. This is LR Ash, and today we are going Ultimate.
Also, even he has an Ultimate form. Where's my Ultimate form? How would an Ultimate Blazeix look like?
For the longest time, I've seen people wanting us to do a video covering the Ultimate Aliens of the titular series, Ben 10 Ultimate Alien. It seems like in every series, Ben 10 tried to have some kind of gimmick that would result in a new power or transformation for Ben that overall would be pretty short-lived. The most popular of those were the Ultimates.
I mean, can you blame it? It looked cool!
Ultimate form.
Ultimate Aliens were the result of taking an alien's DNA and putting it through a simulated war zone for 1,000,000 years. The evolution that occurred would then become the new transformation, for better or worse. The Ultimates were introduced with Albedo and the Ultimatrix in Alien Force, then taken by Ben, then yeeted away by Azimuth at the end of Ultimate Alien, and then returning later in Omniverse with Albedo again via bootleg DNA stabilizer, I guess.
I truly missed the Ultimatrix. It was so
the
cool.
Ultimate Aliens inside of it gained sapience because glitching. From looking at comments, I know these guys are the parts of the Ultimates you want us to cover. Where are they? What are they doing? Wouldn't Ultimate Big Chill technically be the real biological father of Ben's children? It's always bothered me that the Ultimate Evolution feature was introduced in Alien Force, but only half of the Alien Force playlist got Ultimates, and then Cannonbolt and Wild Mutt for whatever reason.
Why did we need Wild Mutt?
Ultimate spider monkey.
Ultimate Big Chill.
Ultimate humongous.
Ultimate Echo.
Ultimate Cannonbolt. Ultimate.
No, you don't need to exist.
Thank you, Ash!
So, today
Wait, what's wrong with Way Big? Why did you need to screw that guy?
Excluding Alien X. From what I've seen with designing Ultimates, there are two rules they indirectly use in the show that I will be using today. Number one, the color palette has to change. None of the Ultimates share the same color palette as the original Alien it's based from. Number two, there has to be a power trade-off. Essentially, they have to lose one of their old abilities to get a new one. Ultimate Humongosaur can't grow anymore, but now he can turn his hands into Gatling guns.
I kind of like that Humongosaur grew. I kind of missed that. He just became more cool.
Let's go ahead and get started.
Oh my
First
gosh,
up,
I love
we have
Goop.
Ultimate Goop. Now, the reason I'm starting with this one is because this is the weakest concept I feel that I came up with. In all honesty, it was kind of hard coming up with an ability set for an Ultimate Goop whenever the original is literally just a pile of goo. Really, I could have gave him any kind of strange ability like any of the other Ultimates, but I wanted it to make sense genetically. So instead, the thought process I went with for this one is actually more akin to like a D&D slime. So I messed around with some shapes. First, his color scheme wise, I wanted to make more of like teals and purples to make him seem like he's kind of toxic. If you touch him, it's gonna like seriously mess you up. As far as his abilities, I actually took inspiration from the classic horror movie The Blob and Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece.
My goat, my king!
So essentially, his new abilities that he has is that he can absorb things into his body and consume them. Essentially, if something goes into his body, it turns into the slime that makes up his body and increases his mass overall. He's just gonna keep getting bigger and turning into a more giant blobulous monster. The second ability I came up with for him is that he has essentially a low level of density shifting. Now, with original Goop, he had to have a gravity projector because he himself couldn't support his own weight and couldn't keep himself together. With this guy, he is able to keep himself together. The trade-off being, though, is that he can no longer separate his body. If something is cut off of him, or is taken off of him, it's off. He can't reattach it. This is one giant viscous booger of an alien now, instead of slime that can spread everywhere. And with that ability, he now can control his own density to thicken himself up into a more solid state. Essentially, if he were to try to throw a punch at you with his regular goo arm, it would splat. He can now compact his slime, making him a lot more solid. So, something before that would have caused regular Goop to like explode and splatter everywhere, this Goop can just thicken his skin and not explode. Long story short of it, with Ultimate Goop, he is much larger, much more viscous, he can't splatter or separate anymore, but he is a lot stronger. May I present...
See, this sounds like a dope concept for Goop. See, this sounds like a dope concept for Ultimate Goop.
Next up, we have Ultimate Jet Ray. Now, the original Jet Ray is already a little bit OP, seeing as he can fly light years in the span of seconds. So it was a little bit tough to actually think of a new ability set or something that would benefit the alien that can already fly across space. My main thought process with this Ultimate Jet Ray is that he's an amphibious species, and they typically live out in space a lot. I wonder if space would have the same type of effects as an open ocean environment and result in an evolutionary feature known as deep sea gigantism, where essentially, because the environment that they're in is so open and wide with nothing in it, they start to take up the space in which they live. So, considering these guys can fly out into deep space,
I've seen this, because this is why every time you go more down into the ocean, you'll see stuff that gets bigger and bigger.
20 times his original size. The second ability that I was thinking for him is that now, to go along with his Neuroblast, he now can create kind of a Neuroblast sail from his wings. When designing this guy, I gave him orange sections to his wings that are the same color and texture as his horns. I imagine now the Neuroblast would come from the horns instead of his eyes, just because it would look a little bit cooler and be different. Putting that same effect onto the wings as he's flying, he can now charge his flight with the same Neuroblast energy he's able to create. And I imagine with that, now he can go even faster, but so that there is a one-up as far as an evolutionary ultimate, because of this new Neuroblast sail thing that he can do with his wings, he can now actually travel through dimensions. The boost that he gets from these neurosails literally
that's busted as hell!
Through space and create wormholes or just jump from place to place. Essentially, he's moving so fast, he's ripping through space and can get to anywhere he wants.
That is busted, man.
The opposite trade-off for this guy is that because he's out in space all the time, he doesn't really need legs or hands because he's just floating and flying around places all the time. So I took away pretty much all of his appendages, except for a little claw he has on the end of his tail. Essentially, Jet Ray, instead of being a super fast manta ray, he is now the most terrifying space whale in existence. Other than that, this is Ultimate Jet Ray.
How big would this thing be compared to way big?
Before we move on to the big brain boy himself, why not make your brain bigger with today's sponsor, Brilliant.
A lot of people often wonder how we keep our minds sharp when it comes to power scaling, determining how strong the powers of our aliens are, or even explaining to the internet why Ben 10 can defeat Goku and Superman. Well, that's where today's sponsor...
Goku, yes. Superman, no.
Brilliant is a problem-solving website in-app with over 60 different interactive courses in math, science, and computer science.
I still think at some point Superman would still be stronger, even if he copied the DNA of a Kryptonian. Prime Kryptonian, which is what Superman is.
Take into consideration when it comes to power scaling. but the one thing you can't run away from is mathematics. But with Brilliant,
Who would run
you
away
don't
from
have to run
mathematics?
away, as they offer
It's
lessons
actually
in
really
algebra,
good.
geometry, and everything else that
I'm pretty
you
good at
need for a
mathematics,
refresh
so
that you can
kinda-
crunch those numbers. To keep your brain pumping and your mind
Kind
fresh,
of,
be sure to check out brilliant.org.
I kind of have a soft spot for
/the
math.
where you can sign up for free. And hey, the first 200 people to click on the link get a 20% discount off their annual premium subscription. Again, that is brilliant.org /think tank.
Brainstorm!
Next up, we have Ultimate Brainstorm. Now, Brainstorm was the first of this set of aliens that I actually had a few different ideas on, so I'm actually doing two concepts, this being the first one I thought of. Essentially, with this Ultimate Brainstorm, I wanted to take his electricity powers and push them up even further. So now, instead of electricity, he has electromagnetics, which essentially he can still use electricity at small amounts, but his new base ability is the electromagnetics. Now, with this first Ultimate Brainstorm
Sounds like
concept,
he used to
the
go
main
from a
thing
certain
that I
scientific
wanted to
railgun.
was take off his arms and legs. Now hear me out. This is not meant to be a dark thing. His main body, where his brain and the little electromagnetic bits of his body are, and then his limbs are electromagnetically charged to stay within a vicinity of the main body. With this, he can detach limbs and like stretch them much further than he would initially. Instead of having an actual physical reach, he can just send his arm or his leg out. And with this, he's a lot more physical of an
So
attacker,
basically what you're
because
saying
no
is he
longer
can, like,
really has
push his
a lot of
legs out.
range attacks unless he sends a limb flying at someone. I kept thinking he could be
He can,
using
like,
this
push his
to
legs
spin
out and
around
grab
on
somebody.
top, or just this terrifying blade of limbs and stuff. And I just thought it was a really fun visual, so I really wanted to use this idea. Another thing with this guy is that now his shell is now made of metal, and his head he can no longer open. It is just set open, but it has a small electromagnetic field that is encasing it. Other than that, this is my first concept for an Ultimate Brainstorm.
Ultimate Brainstorm!
That's not bad,
On
actually.
to the second Ultimate Brainstorm concept that I had, I nicknamed the Crab Cannon. Now, with this guy, I wanted to essentially make him a lot more beefy than smart. The idea that I had with this guy is an idea that I've actually had with a lot of other aliens that use more like telepathic, electricity, abilities that are associated with the brain. I wanted them to like have brain-based abilities, but not intelligence. An example being that recently I did a Synaptech transformation for a Patreon commission called Think Tank. He still has telepathy, but his species
that's
isn't
what they got
super
the-
intelligent. Just because
I'm
they
done.
inherently
I'm done.
have the ability doesn't mean they have the intelligence to go along with it. Think of it in the sense of like, this
Ooh, I
guy
like
has the
I like his
superpower
design
to
for the
fly,
claws.
but he doesn't have durability or super strength, so whenever he lands, he just fucking breaks his legs. He can no longer open the shell on the top of his head. It's actually a lot more closed down on his brain, compressing the electricity and funneling it to these gigantic railgun claws that I've given him. I wanted this guy.
So you are
to
just
be
using
a
the
giant,
inspiration of
beefy
a certain
crab
scientific
monster
railgun.
with
The
lightning
railgun
cannons
aspect,
for
anyways.
hands. He still has his electricity powers, and they're even stronger now, but he is a lot more dumb. With some of the Ultimates in the original series, they liked incorporating like metal into their designs for some reason, so I thought, hey, why don't I do that with this Ultimate Brainstorm? His shell is made completely out of copper, which is super conductive. All in all, this concept is probably the closest I would associate to an actual Ultimate from the show style design, because it's just meant to be fun and strong and beefy and weird. There's not a lot of cleverness to the design, in all honesty.
Honestly,
I just did this for fun.
This is actually
So
really
may I
fun.
present the second concept I have for an Ultimate Brainstorm.
Ultimate Brainstorm!
I do like your claws, though. That is really cool.
Next up, we are moving on to Ultimate Chromastone. Now, with Ultimate Chromastone, I actually had a couple ideas again. This first one I'm talking about is meant to be more of just a basic concept Ultimate, and with this, I actually did two renders of it. The different forms I'm simply labeling as Chromastone Pink and Chromastone Red. The whole idea behind it is that with this Ultimate Chromastone, the DNA and power within the crystals of his body start overtaking the rest of his body and kind of breaking out of the rock shell that makes up the rest of his body. Because of this energy and Chromastone's ability to fly beforehand, this guy legitimately doesn't even need legs anymore, so I kind of took them away.
Just
And all of
takes
his
his
energy
legs.
abilities are juiced up like tenfold. But again, with this, these guys are the exact same concept. I just had two visual ideas for it. The pink one being more of like a floating fortress, so he was a lot more of like a scary looking crystal god. The second one, I wanted to just be a lot more spiky and cool looking. I gave him 2 eyes instead of the one because I couldn't figure out exactly where to put a single eye. Another ability I imagine these guys would have is actually a basic Petrosapien ability, which is crystal generation and crystal kinesis. Essentially, these guys can grow more crystals and fire them out and make shapes with them and stuff like that. I imagine that Petrosapiens, because of their genetic link to Sugilite, they would have more abilities akin to each other with this ultimate, which I'll actually be talking more about with the next Ultimate Chromastone idea. I like the two designs that came out of this, even though they're for the same idea. But for now, here are Ultimate Chromastone Red and Pink.
Ultimate Chromastone.
That's not bad, actually.
Another concept I had for an Ultimate Chromastone, which this is my favorite concept that I came up with, is actually meant to be more of akin to a fusion with him and Diamond Head. Chromastone and Diamond Head are genetically linked, considering that Chromastone is the artificial crystal Jesus of Petropia. So of course they're going to have some kind of genetic similarities. The idea for this ultimate actually stems in a little theory I have on if you were to do an ultimate Diamond Head, it would just be Chromastone. That's a whole argument and theory that I have for another day, but it's the base idea behind this guy right here. Visually, I wanted him to have the same kind of look as Ultimate Alien Force Diamond Head, with the rock base and then the crystal bits everywhere else, because I loved that look for
That
Diamond.
actually,
So essentially,
it's so crazy that Diamond Head comes back in every iteration. Like, I feel like the crew just
is uberly
just
strong. This guy
loves
is twice as big
Diamond
and can
Head.
now create crystal constructs.
Because he comes
The
back
way he uses
every
these crystal
season.
constructs is that he can shoot them out wherever and cover a surface in the material of crystal and then channel energy to it. Kind of working like a crystal lightning rod in a sense. I imagine this could be used for a number of really cool combo attacks, and visually I was just really happy to work on this guy. I did the gradients of the purple into the teal and then all the rainbow bits for the energy half of his body. I honestly just had a lot of fun designing this guy. This is how I imagine an Ultimate Chromastone would be. Here is my second concept for an Ultimate Chromastone.
Ultimate Chromastone.
And that was the rest of the Alien Force playlist.
Interesting,
Finally, we
interesting.
have designs for the rest of the Alien Force playlist ultimates. At least designed by me. But before we end the video, we do have one more ultimate I have to design, or rather, redesign. Now, it's no surprise that not every OG Ultimate design is loved. So, we had our patrons vote for one of the existing Ultimates for me to take a crack at redesigning. And that alien is Ultimate Cannonbolt.
How was Cannonbolt not as loved? But how?
Now,
How did you guys love Wildmud a lot more than Cannonbolt's
I'm
design?
gonna be 100% honest, I was drawing blanks. After, like, a week of trying to think of a cool power or add-on that wasn't just giving Cannonbolt a gun, I couldn't come up
should
with
have a
ideas,
gun.
and I honestly felt kind of bad for the people who had to design the original Ultimate Cannonbolt, and for people not really liking him. It is kind of hard.
I mean,
to
what's
make
wrong with
ideas
his
for him.
design?
He's already a pretty solid alien. We want to make him much tougher, much buffer, and much scarier. I gave him this giant, massive tail. I actually
I love
based
those
his
eyes. That's
design
cool.
off of a pangolin. They're these little armored guys that can roll up into a little ball, and they're really cool. I like them a lot. So I wanted to give Cannonbolt that same type of profile, where he's got this hunched back, he's leaning forward, he's got the smaller legs, and this massive tail. The main use of this tail being for attacking. I imagine he can do gigantic tail whips and slams with this thing in his regular form. When he is
Oh,
in his
you
ball
know what?
form, he has two
What
stages
does it
to his ball
remind
form.
me
He can
of?
go
It reminds
into
me of
his
that
regular
Pokemon
ball
from
form,
Hoenn.
which includes just the shell pieces
Oh,
going to his
you know the
mid,
one I'm talking
and then
about, the
have
one that looks like
tail
a-
hang off.
like a
Again,
prehistoric
using it for,
elephant.
like,
Not a
attacks and to like grab
I don't know if
onto
it's
things,
Mastodon.
to swing
It looks like a
himself,
Mastodon.
create
I forget what it's
momentum.
called.
He would just become a gigantic wrecking ball. One problem I did think of with this excess tail was, wouldn't it always be hanging off, and wouldn't that make it a lot harder for him to roll around? So he can also wrap the tail the the rest of the way around him, creating a whole nother set of armor to defend himself. The spikes on the end of his tail act kind of like a tread, making it to where he can roll around on whatever terrain and just tear through shit. And of course, it being an ultimate and me wanting to make it more scary, he is much larger than the original Cannonbolt. Other than that, may I present the redesigned Ultimate Cannonbolt.
Ultimate Cannonbolt.
I mean, it looks solid.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a bit of a different
God,
type
do
of
I
video,
hate
so I
Ultimate
hope you
Walmart.
enjoyed. Designing these ultimates was super fun. If you have any suggestions of who I should design an ultimate for in the next one of these videos, let me know in the comments below. Until next time, I'm ORAsh and I'm surviving. Are you? Peace.
Okay, that was it. That was good. That was honestly really good. I think he came up with some really cool designs for him. I think my favorites were honestly buff Brainstorm or buff Chromastone. Which honestly I like the idea of Diamond Head and Chromastone basically doing the fusion dance and becoming Ultimate Chromastone. Now it sounds cool. It sounds nice. And I think I'm gonna enjoy reacting to how they come up with ultimate forms for these for some of the aliens that never got them. Don't know how they're gonna do a better wild mud, but we'll see. Anyways, I do hope you'll enjoy. Be sure to leave a like, add to your favorites. Want to see more Scorch On videos from this channel, subscribe. I make videos weekly or daily depending on my schedule. Have any requests for reactions whatsoever, leave a link to the video down below. Make sure it's something I'd be interested in, like Mario, Sonic, Ben 10, TMNT, or Pokemon, and I will definitely react to it. Our goal is to hit 10,000 subscribers, so help me reach that goal, and you will get a special video from yours truly. With that being said, I hope you all enjoy. Stay tuned for more videos, and remember, many hearts never apart. Then my Blazing Knights, Blazeix, Blazing out! Until next time, take care.